is my job and to provide that safe space for the families, and they are all hurt. They all been through a lot, whether it's mental health difficulties, how their teenagers like acting out royal style or withdrawn just to show them I'm not okay, help me, but they don't know how to help them, and it just create this never-ending cycles of pain and hurt and thinking I want to help, but he won't listen or she won't listen, and arguments and sleepless night, mental health breakdown, all sorts.
Welcome to another episode of the Create Your Kindspace podcast with me, your host, Caroline Laurenson. Create Your Kindspace is all about well-being and the different ways in which we care for ourselves and those around us. Today, I'd like you to meet my wonderful friend Pei-I Yang from Rainbow Parenting Practice. We're delving into the tricky topic of family relationships and specifically the tensions and issues that many of us face navigating the teenage years. So I have two kids myself, so I do, I guess, appreciate that life is challenging and bringing up children is challenging, and it is just wonderful to have you, Pei, as a guest today to, I guess, help us to navigate that. So to kick us off, it would be really great for you to do a little intro.
It's so nice to be on the show, Caroline. I always get so much buzz going on podcasts and speaking events because this is where I shine the most. And, I love talking about things. All things families, all things relationships, all things teenagers, right? So my name is Pei, and I was still trying to find the introduction for myself, but I am a Taiwanese born, living in Scotland, and a Taiwanese by heart and a Scottish by choice because I just love Scotland so much and the people are so nice. And I am a parenting and teen behavior specialist for the past 30 years. And recently I'm qualified as a systemic and family psychotherapist, as you know. So
Yeah,
it's been
congratulations.
Thank you. So it's been amazing to be able to help and serve families, especially for those last 10 years I specialize in working with teenagers. I just feel like there's really not enough resources and support out there for families with teenagers. And I was a struggling teenager 35 years ago, and then now 35 years later I'm still seeing the same struggles among the teenagers, and greater struggles because the society, the culture, the everything is different now, and the parents are still struggling with the teenage phase. So I decided to this is my passion. I'm going to do it, get the message out there and help families with the teenagers to navigate this journey. And it doesn't have to be hard. It can be fun, and interesting, shall we say. Yeah. Oh, I forgot to mention, I'm also the founder of the Rainbow Parenting Practice, which I established just about 2 years ago, actually 18, 19 months ago. So I'm really passionate about what I do. Mm-mm.
Yeah, so that kind of transition into becoming a founder and really focusing in on that niche of teenagers and families and helping them to navigate that. I think that it's a topic that a lot of people will relate to, especially if they have teenagers. And I guess, is it fair to say that as a profession and as a field, it's still quite a new thing that people maybe aren't aware that there's people like you that can help kind of coach them and guide them through what's happening and how to kind of have more positive relationships?
I think in general, it's new in terms of like even for younger children. I don't think there's enough, or shall we say, like in the message out there to say when you're struggling with parenting, go ask for help. Do you know when your children are unwell, you go and ask for doctors for help. You send your children to school, so school can help your children to be educated. But when it comes to parenting, no matter what age your children's are, I think the parents wouldn't initially have the first instinct to go, I need to get help. And I need to get professional help to help me to address the challenges at home. And of course, there's like community help and support out there, but it's how much do you and can you access to that? And also, let's not forget the stigma of, asking for help and what that means. Is that why you can't parent your own children? You don't know what to do. Why are you so successful and your teenagers are completely out of control? So there's a lot of stigma around
Yeah, being
asking
judged.
for help. So I think that puts a lot of parents off. So like, you know what, the stigma, the embarrassment there, and then the other bit is like, am I allowed to ask for help? Is this the right time to ask for help? And is there help out there? What kind of help out there? So I would say that has been the barriers and challenges for parents to come out to ask for help, really.
That is such a good point, because I guess if I reflect back on my parenting journey, when your kids are young and even before they're born, there's all this support, in terms of antenatal classes, and then, the early years and the real focus on making sure your children get a good start. And then you're kind of left to your own devices to kind of figure things out. And obviously you can speak to your friends, but,
Mm-hmm.
if there are uh, if you are in a situation where your children, that relationship is strained,
Mm-hmm.
or there's something happening in terms of your child's maybe mental health, or other things happening in their
Mm-hmm.
life, it is really difficult to open up about those things, and you will
Absolutely.
feel vulnerable and feel like you've failed as a parent. So yeah, I think that's why I really wanted to have you on the show, to kind of break down some of those barriers, give people some tips and advice, and kind of show
Yeah,
them that you can have a really beautiful relationship with your children, and you can help to guide them through what is a really intense period for them, so they come out the other side of it and grow into like beautiful young adults.
absolutely. And the other thing I want to add, Caroline, is on the other spectrum, I also have seen a lot of families struggling with their teenagers, but like way back when the children were younger, because there's a lot of increased teenagers being diagnosed with neurodivergence, like ADHD or autism. And I like to call them developmental differences, because they're beautiful human beings. They're just different in their brain, how it's wired and how they function. But because there's increased, and a lot of parents come to me and say, like, since my boy or since my girl was 2 years old, 3 years old, I knew there's something is different. And it's just, there's a lot of struggles, and they ask for help. And if you're in UK, you'll be going to camps that, mental health support and no GP school to get help. And what a lot of parents experience is like, they just told me that it's okay, it's a phase, and you just need to write this one out. And then later found out, actually, all these 10 years I've been struggling with my 3 year
There's
old.
a
Support
reason.
could have
Yeah.
been put in place, and there's just not enough resources out there. And then even when we are thinking about resources, it's not all resources fits every family's needs, because every family circumstances and their blueprint, I love to talk about this, is their unique blueprint is very different. So you need to have the right support, the right kind of support, with the right approach and method and people to help you navigate the challenges. And I don't know, like, I don't always have very good experience of certain GP practitioners. I don't know about you. I might get throw stones at this, but I would, like, just some GP are just wonderful. You connect better, the way they speak to you, the way they treat you, you make you feel good about being their patient. So then eventually I learned, right, this doctor is the one I need to go to all the time, or this vet is the pets need to go all the time. And it's the
Yeah.
same thing when parents, you're asking for help, you need to ask for the right help. And I love, of like what you said earlier, friends and family. Of course you can go and ask for friends and family or help, but then what is really important to think about is, what kind of help are you actually looking for from your family or friends? Because in the end of the day, they are not independent, and they probably don't have the credential to be able to give you the professional guidance as to how you can navigate the challenges. And sometimes they can make things really worse for the
Yeah.
parents. And I heard a lot of saying, like, do you know what, your teenagers just need to ground them for a whole week, take their phone away, and then put some strict boundaries in place, or all these things. But you might not work for your family circumstances, and then when things don't work out, you probably will be very angry at your family members or your friends for giving you such bad advice. And I've seen so many families actually have a breakdown, relationship breakdown with their extended families,
Yeah.
for that very reason, as to the judgment, the wrong advice, or you haven't done enough, or you should have done this. So you really need to watch out what kind of help you're looking for from your family and friends. And what I always encourage the parents to do is, when you want us help, be specific with your friends and family, and they can be very helpful, but you need to be specific in terms of, like, today I just want you to listen, don't give me any advice, that's not what I wanted. Right? Or I really need you to practical help, like help me to look after my two children today while I go out to spend some time with my husband, or pick up my teenager from school.
Yeah, and you touched upon a really important point there about the kind of extended family dynamic, and that sometimes the way that we parent, we can inherit, I guess, traits and things from our own relationships with our own parents. And equally, like, modern society has changed significantly in that generation. So the way our parents would have done things is differently from how we do them now. So that probably creates some tension as well. So yeah, I think that was all like really valuable advice.
If you think about it, Caroline, nobody teaches you how to be a parent. And this is not something not spoken about enough in the parenting world, is you learn how to parent through your own experiences of being parented. Right? So the values the values your parents instill in you become your own values. But some could be very unconscious, saying like your kids need to go to school, like be high achieving, get a doctor degree, be a doctor, be an architect, be an architect, all these things. There's a beliefs and value driving this. That's also from your family script, your family value, from your, parents, or from your culture. And culture also dictates what family beliefs and values are. So there's a lot of layers to unpick, but essentially you learn how to parent from your own experiences. And some parents are very insightful. They know, and my parents are one of them. Like my dad, they experienced so much poverty growing up, and they have to give up education to raise children, or to support their family. So then they are conscious the fact that I had that experience, my children will never go through poverty. So they work really hard. Oh, speaking about this, making me feel emotional. Then work through really hard to make money, to provide us with financially, and they become self-made millionaire, the first generation in my family. So that was really, like, they changed their script, they changed their pattern, to allow us to have the opportunity. And it's not something every parents will have. This, you will be thinking, oh, I experienced abuse, or my parents always shout at me, or my parents been through that, do this to me or for me, so that I'm not going to do that again to my children. But a lot of times these things catch up on you, and you do it unconsciously,
Yeah,
and you just
or
behave and interact,
when
in a
you get
certain
really
way.
stressed, it comes out. So
Yep.
I was going to say, like, so my family upbringing was not the greatest, and there was always shouting and swearing and
Mm-hmm.
all manner of, like, when I look back on that dynamic and see how, I don't know how my mom coped, to be honest, like how
Mm-hmm.
badly she was treated and the way that my family spoke to her.
Mm-hmm.
It broke my heart. And when I get really, really stressed and upset, the terrible things that come out of my mouth, and I know that that's like the root of
Yep.
where it comes from. And I think
Mm-hmm.
most people would never, they wouldn't expect it, and they would never, yeah, they'd be like, really? And well, my husband knows because he's seen it. Um, but um, yeah, like, yeah, that's another really insightful observation, that there are things that our experiences, they are there regardless
Yeah.
of whether we think we have worked through them. And like,
Mm-hmm.
I know, like, absolutely 100%, when I had my own family, I was very conscious of, I need to do this better. I
Mm-mm.
need to give them a stable environment where we are loving and caring
Mm-hmm.
and we support each other. And yeah, and just not to have all that stress and like
Yeah.
drama, because it is not healthy.
Yeah, and in what you're doing, you're changing your family script going forward, Caroline, because you're aware of that's the part it influences you, that's your experience, and then you change your children's script going forward. And that's how every family script is different, and so important to look at that,
Yeah,
But a credit to you, did really well, in terms of providing a stable, supportive home environment for your children, which are really important for them to thrive. And
yeah,
one thing I think would be really helpful, I ask the family all the time, is you need to think about what is influencing your parenting practice or your parenting decision. You need to understand why you make certain decisions and why you do what you do. So to help you to become more aware of the decision you make, because everything you do, everything you say matter, or don't say actually matter to your teenagers. They pick these
yeah,
things
they
up.
pick it up so
Mm-hmm.
easily. Yeah, definitely, definitely. I
Mm-hmm.
think one thing that comes across to me like so strongly is clearly how much energy that you have for this. And then also the way that you kind of create this safe space for families,
Mm-hmm.
create somewhere where they can feel that they can unpack some of this
Mm-hmm.
really deep, complex stuff and speak to someone who understands without judgment. And
Mm-hmm.
that is really, really beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Actually, that's really a nice compliment. And it is my job and to provide that safe space for the families, and they are all hurt. They all been through a lot, whether it's mental health difficulties, how their teenagers like acting out royal style or withdrawn just to show them I'm not okay, help me, but they don't know how to help them, and it just create this never ending cycles of pain and hurt and thinking I want to help, but he won't listen or she won't listen, and arguments and sleepless night, mental health breakdown, all sorts. And even if you like, there's a lot of increasing knowledge of neurodivergence, and we are celebrating that. But then you're thinking about it, there's still not enough support out there. If you have a neurodivergent teenager, it's going to be the different from the next door's neurodivergent child, teenager,
Yeah.
and the parents don't get the support to know how to parent their teenager, in the way that can actually help them thrive. And that's where a lot of difficulties come from. Hmm.
Yeah, so I would be really wonderful if you could kind of talk through a bit more about some of the things that you can offer to people in terms of how you work. So is it
Hmm.
is it mainly one-to-one, or do you have programs and things as well? Or
Actually, this is such a good question, Caroline, because I'm forever evolving. There's so many things I want to do and so many things I want to get out there to the parents, right? But I do have my signature program called Heal Family First Method, and it's restoring harmony in 90 days. And a lot of people are like, what? 90 days? How is it possible? But it's really possible because it's based on science. It's based on, experience and skills to collapse time to heal families from the most desperate place, to move them from the most desperate place and difficult place to actually being able to enjoy each other's company at home. So that is my most famous and popular signature program. But I do also offer one-to-one, but one-to-one is more for families and not sure. It's like, I'm not sure, because all the family come to me being burned, being hurt, and try many things, have nothing sticks, nothing works, and they were like, okay, let's try this woman to see how it works. And that's when they usually will come into my world, is to try my one-to-one or try my 5 days, and to see, is it really possible to have such a impact in such a short space time. And I love to talk about the stories. I have this family who has been grieving for the family's harmony since their children were very young, and one of the teenager was diagnosed with autism, and they were left with no support. They didn't know how, so there was a lot of sibling fights, and then the family could never ever have dinner together for so many years. And then actually they came into my 5 day taster. They threw somebody I knew and the referral, so they came through my 5 day taster. So then we had one session,
yeah,
and then a little bit of a WhatsApp support before their dinner time. They actually, on the first day of the work, the family had dinner together, the first time in many years, because they usually just separate the children. And I was like, oh my God, celebrate this, celebrate this. It's so exciting, because they think it's impossible. And they've tried so many things, therapy, counseling, everything,
yeah,
coaching, whatever, it's not helped. But they're like, this is too comical. I still remember their comments. It's like, hey, this is too comical. It
This is
doesn't feel
real.
real because, yeah, it's never happened, but it happened just today with a session with you. So that was really beautiful. But on the third day, the family actually experienced the most amazing dinner together. There's no fights. The teenagers were, making dinner for the parents, and it was really lovely. For the first time, they actually experienced actually happiness and harmony. Don't have to deal with the children. See, the fight is possible. And that's how usually people came into my world to do the taster, to think, oh, like actually it's possible, and it's really not it's not magic. It's really just grounded in science and the method and the skills and experience for the past 30 years. Mm-mm.
When you were describing that, it was making me think of the TV series The Super Nanny.
Yeah.
That helps with the kind of like the, I guess more like the babies in the toddler sort of stage, and kind of coaches the family, and then you see this amazing transformation,
Mm-mm.
and it does feel a little unbelievable, because you see like how chaotic their lives are
Mm-mm.
beforehand, and then
Mm-mm.
you kind of see that process that they go through, and yeah, like it just made me think of that when you were describing your work. In terms of transformations, you were touching upon, some stories there. Like, what what is the most incredible sort of leap or transformation that you've seen from a family? Like, maybe you were like, you weren't even sure if they were going to be able to kind of work through the challenges they were facing.
There were so many of them, Caroline. And you know what? It's not me sounding big-headed, and I'm so positive about everything. Even despite the most challenging situation, I will find the positives. So, like, I have never felt that any family is beyond help or impossible. And it's not down to me, it's down to the family, because in the end of the day, I'm a facilitator. I have the skills, experience, I know the theories, I know the science, I know the psychology, the development, all these things to help the families. But in the end of the day, it's the family who is at the forefront, that is doing everything. And it really requires them to be committed, open-minded, and try new things or retry things they've done in the past, but do it differently and successfully and effectively this time. And they actually have all the credits. So then, and I cannot tell you how many stories were there. There's still so many families I work with, and I still check in with them because I want to know how they are doing. And I never abandon any family unless I think this is not for me. Like if you have a stroppy teenagers, then that is not for me. There will be someone else who is helping you, right? My families are all experience a lot of difficulties, like entrenched difficulties, and I run towards them. I love those families. It's like, yeah, let me help
Yeah.
you, right? But then the ones that always sit with me is this parents. They're like doctors, solicitors, like really high achieving parents, and they're really struggling with their teenage child, and they were actually at breaking point. They wouldn't, and they tried everything they could. Really, they did counselor therapy, couple counseling, educational, clinical psychologies, CAMS, and all the support skill that you can think of, and they were really at their wits end. And I met them in, I don't know, it's just such a wonderful time together. It was, I'm not saying everything is easy. It's never easy because you're putting constant, continuous effort into trying to do things every day, small dosage to
Yeah.
try to change the behavior, try to change the interaction. But the family came through. They did so much. They used me so well because the one thing I also offer the family is the WhatsApp support, which not all the parenting consultant or coach will do. They'll be like, "Are you sure you want to do this?" I'm like, "I'm pretty sure I want to do this," because you can have a wonderful 1 hour session with the family. And I do agree the family needs to go home and do their work, right? Because I cannot be responsible for their work. However, when you are implementing strategies or try something new, you do need some hand holding because
Yeah.
there's so many entrenched behavior from the past, and or there's some new skills or strategy you don't know how to do it. You want somebody you can access to it straight away. Go, okay, you asked me to put boundaries in place now, but my teenager's not compliant. He's actually saying, no, I'm not doing that. How do I manage that? Right. So these are the
Yeah.
things that, yeah, you want somebody to be there for you to help you. But
Yeah,
one
in
thing
that
I'm
moment.
very adamant about is all my parents need to know why we're doing what we're doing. So then going forward, when they don't need me anymore, which is the most beautiful place they can ever be, I want them to be, is they don't need me anymore. And then going forward, because we're not saying like after 90 days or 180 days, they won't face any challenges. They will still have the challenges, because we're human beings. They're teenager, will throw them challenges, but they need to know the principles and feel confident. Oh, we have challenges, but I know how to manage that because we run through the process too. We know exactly why we're doing, how we're doing, and what we need to do. So that is very important for me. But there are so many stories. This young person, sorry, I'm just digress a little bit. So this young person, the family's relationship united. The parents reunite their relationship, which was really lovely to see repair their relationship because they weren't able to co-parent together. They were talking about divorce, but the relationship repair. The young person was doing really well. So it's just amazing to see. I always feel so privileged to be able to support family and their families. They thank you for saving my families. I don't know where my families would be without you. And these always make me want to cry. Seriously, right now I still
Oh,
want to cry because when I think about this family, I think about their journey because I'm there with them in and out, you know. So, but it's really an amazing
so
journey.
rewarding, yeah, and it's making me
Hmm.
wonder, like, if anyone's listening and thinking about this as a career choice,
Hmm.
then, yeah, maybe they'd also want to get in touch with you and find out more about how you got into this field and, some of the studying that you've been doing. I know you recently, passed your dissertation for your
Yeah,
qualification, so, yeah, it does sound super rewarding.
it really is, and it touches people's life, but at the same time, it also touches mine. So it's a mutual process. At one point, I want to teach people how to do my methods,
Oh, yeah.
so then they can go out and touch more families' life without spending years and years and years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be wonderful, wouldn't it? Especially with your depth of experience and knowledge.
Mm,
Yeah, that would be amazing. Yes.
yeah.
So you're very entrepreneurial as well, and I wonder, maybe we should share how we met originally because I think this is
Yeah.
a
Let's.
good story too.
Yeah.
So, back in the depths of lockdown, I'm stuck at home trying to run my business, feeling like I wasn't getting enough exercise. And then I came across this amazing uh, organization called Club Synergy, where you could do networking online combined with exercise, basically. So it's like a Monday session. You would join online, you get paired up with someone, and you would go for a walk and a talk, like
Yep.
virtually over the phone. And yeah, so that's how we met, was through Club Synergy. And it's just so wonderful to be able to, I guess, combine all those things. And
Hmm.
some of the conversations, we've had in the past, it's not just about work. We talk about our lives, about our aspirations, when
Hmm.
things are going well, we celebrate. When things are tough, then we can kind of support everyone in that community. And I guess, yeah, that entrepreneurial side and kind of learning or building upon each other's experiences, I think, as well.
Yeah.
So
Mm-mm.
when you're away, doing things like your TV stuff, which
Yeah.
I was wanting to talk about as well, like, it's such a wonderful way to have those shared experiences and, yeah, find out how you might stretch yourself in your business, because I'm not sure I could do what you did. So you were on GB News not long ago as, like, their parenting expert,
Yep.
and they were grilling you, weren't they? It was quite an
They were.
intense interview, but you handled it so well. Maybe you could tell people a bit more about that story too.
Yeah. Actually, you know what? It was really interesting because I don't know, I think I suppose I'm really blessed to have the opportunity come up so fast, even into my entrepreneur or the world, because my mission is about helping people. And I'm not a businesswoman, I'm not a business person. But then because you're running your own practice, so you do need to learn, you do not need to promote your PR. And then my PR person, Amy, is wonderful. This opportunity come about. She's, oh, there's this report about teenagers being out of control. They've been stabbing people. And do you think they're out of control? I said, no, absolutely not. So then that's how the story come about. It's like, I have a different view. And I don't know, I didn't get a lot of a brief. I just get a call before the day before was going down to London. I was like, is this a chat? Is there a certain question you're gonna ask me? I can prepare for it. They said, no, just go on the show, just a chat. I'm like,
Wow.
okay, I can do that. Yeah, there's nothing at all. And I was like, okay, that's all right then. It's so funny. The story down to London is amazing. I really had a really good time. I used to stay in London for a year and a half. I hated it, but this time I absolutely love it. And then I actually, on the way to the Paddington studio on the day of recording, I made two acquaintances who actually had some connection with Taiwan. And I thought, oh my God, the universe is sending me a
It's a
message.
sign.
Because while I've been training so many professionals or being on so many, speaking to chief executive in different departments and all these things, I got a little bit nervous thinking, oh my God, I'm going to live on UKGB News. And it's quite rightly so to be nervous. So then I was like, oh, universe sending me a message. I can just go on the show. And then, become about it. All my family, my friends were supporting me. And then everybody was waiting to watch the live show. I just sat there thinking, like looking around, taking photos and everything. And I really didn't know. I had no idea what they're going to ask me whatsoever. Really zero. But before I went in, I told myself, no matter what they say to me, I will still know more than they do. And I will go about as to, I will have spoken, like I would have spoken to any professional and any families, and just speak my truth and my message. And that's all I did, and on reflection, I feel like, the what do you call them, the interviewer, the presenters, they did have a job to do, because they are saying teens are out of control. Of course, they have to come back with some difficult questions and to just make it more interesting. If
Yeah,
they
they
are
always like
agreeing
a kind
with
of
me,
controversial angle, or
yeah, and but then
stir
all I
up some
see,
debate.
yeah, but then all I see is it just make me shine even more, because like you say, I was able to communicate my views and points really collectively, really nicely. And Caroline, I never ever went back to see any of my videos or audios. Once I recorded, done it, done. Right, send it to families and whatever, being posted online. But this is the only recording I actually went back to watch as soon as it came live. So I went. It's like 2 minutes where I was recording. It went on live straight away. And then this is the first time I actually went back to watch my news, my interview, and I was really proud of myself. I was like, I have done something. Like, I mean, all the things I've done in the past have really brought me great joy, but this is like it's a big thing, being able to be on UKGB News and then still have your thing on the YouTube be talked about, be shared about. And that is a really big milestone for me as a practitioner, because my passion is always about, I need to get my messages out there to the parents,
Yeah.
to the families, and if I can help one family at a time, I will do that every day till the day I die. So
Yeah, that's what I was just
that was
gonna
a really,
say. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, it's sharing that message and giving
mm,
people hope as well. Like, I think that's a
yeah,
big thing with when I see your posts online and, the things that you talk about, it makes me feel like there's hope for families, and that, their children aren't broken, there's not
mm-hmm,
anything wrong with them. They just need some support and the right resources, and yeah, you
I
give people
know.
hope. Yeah.
Absolutely. And then one thing I always want the parents to remember, even when you are feeling hopeless, don't forget you are still doing hope every day, because you haven't given up. You're still trying to find the solution. You're still looking after your children. You're still, running around, making their lunch, wanting your teenager to be safe and all this. So while you're feeling this, you do need to applaud yourself. You're still doing hope every single day, and you just need to find the right person with the right method, with the right tool to be able to help you. Mm.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. I'm glad that you were able to share that story, because it hopefully will inspire others to, like, if they get that call and that kind of opportunity, not to shy away from it, because, yeah, it can be really transformational and really help to amplify the work that you do as well. So, Yeah, that's so awesome. Um,
Yes.
the other thing that we have in
Mhm.
common is obviously podcasting. So
Yeah.
I think it would be really great actually to signpost people to the work that you do on your podcast because it is such a brilliant concept. So it's called Teen Talk. You have the most amazing co-host. So
Yeah.
you and Belle. Is it every 2 weeks that you try and
Yeah, I'm releasing it every 2 weeks just now. It used to be one every week, and I think it's a bit too much for the parents to just digest. So now I'm just thinking every 2 weeks. Mm-mm.
yeah, maybe could you tell us a bit more about the format because it's a little bit different and I actually really love how well I feel like it's us listening in on you and Belle having a chat. Like tell us a bit more about the format and how
Okay.
did you come up with that as an idea of how you would run the show?
So, do you know what? I actually spent a lot of money asking somebody to help me with my podcast. And then once I release my podcast, I feel like I shouldn't have spent lots of money. I could just do it myself,
Oh,
right? Seriously. But it's a really interesting because I've always known I want to have a podcast to get the message out there. And then the podcast is called Teen Talk and Growing Together Family Edition. So basically, it is about growing with your teenager, and your teenager growing with a family, growing with your parents together as a family. And when we were thinking, when the person was coaching me about the format, and actually initially it's about me talking, right, just about sharing my idea, my knowledge, my skill set, and everything. And I started to go and listen to some of the podcasts like in the similar field.
yeah.
And do you know what? And no offense to those people, they did wonderful work, and it's just me. I got really bored. I was just like, I'm so bored listening to this. And I was like, if I cannot listening to this, I want to an episode that myself can listen to.
Yeah.
So I also created this episode for me is when I go back to listen to, I will have a lot of things come out of it. And I can feel the energy. I can feel so excited about it. So I changed the format straight away. It's like I want to have a teenage co-host with me because I think often we forget about it's not just the parents' perspective we need to think about. We also need to think about the teenagers' perspective and their live experience or their living experience
Hmm.
as a teenager. And I sometimes often forgotten. And like you said earlier, we're parents, but then they're also we want them to be responsible, but we also forget their children too, right? So it's really important to have that perspective in mind. And the one thing I'm always very adamant and advocate for is I will never edit my video or script anything we will say because then it just become unauthentic. And I'm not saying other people's way is unauthentic. It's just me personally, professionally, I like it to do it this way. And I want so me and Belle never script anything. And if you go back to listen to our intro every single time is different because we're learning the way we go and just like, oh, this should be this time or that
Yeah.
should be this time. So it's very different. But Belle is an amazing teenage co-host. She is truly amazing. She really brightens up the show so much and bring in her perspective in terms of the discussion we have. And it's everything related to teenage life, their mental health, their school, their relationship, sex education, everything, drug, whatever you can think of. They're also thinking about the families. So every episode, what we are trying to explore is to look at the topic through different lens. Whether
Yeah.
it's or through different people's perspective. And you probably, I don't know if you have heard the episode, but we're thinking about the culture, the gender, the geographical side of things. So it's quite enriching in many different ways. And one thing I'm also very adamant, which I'm telling people about, is your solutions are not about parenting strategies. So in my show, I carry always the same principle: is we will not give any strategies to any families, any parents, or any teenagers. But what we have is encourage curiosity. Is
Yeah.
how can you be more curious about your parents' intention? How can you be more curious about what has not been said by your teenager? Or if your teenager were crying, how can you be more curious about their tears, what they're trying to tell you? So these are the things we're trying to encourage parents to think about a little bit more. So that
Yeah.
is essentially the format. I love it.
Seeing things from a different perspective. And I love that word curiosity. I think
Mhm,
in our relationships, they can be so complex. And sometimes
mhm.
it's the things that we don't say and we feel like we can't say,
Mhm.
or there's things from our past that like trigger us or make us behave in a certain way, and not all those things are immediately explainable or understandable. But
Mhm.
if we could be curious about it and have some empathy and
Mhm.
openness to be like, okay, let's listen and kind of explore what's happening, then you can actually move into a better place, can't you? So I encourage people, definitely check out the show. I'll put a link to it in the show notes. Belle, honestly, is just so wonderful. I think
She
for
stole my show. No, she's
for a
amazing.
teenager,
Yeah.
I mean, I have a teenager of my own, and he's quite he's he's quite mature, and I can
Mhm.
have quite mature conversations with him. And yeah, I think Belle, she just has such a good way of describing her experiences, and yeah, giving that perspective, and not, none of your conversations are like, they're not I'm trying to think what the word is, like they're not there to challenge or
Mhm.
share extreme views. It is literally like a conversation where you talk about how different things impact teenagers,
Mhm.
and it is, yeah, it's just a really lovely open conversation. And yes, congratulations on creating such a beautiful show because and it's,
Oh, thank you.
I love what you shared at the beginning there as well, about how when you went on this journey, you got some advice about how to approach creating something like this, and then your instincts were telling you that's not going to work, and that's not
Mhm.
something that's going to help my community.
Mhm.
So yeah, good for you for, yeah.
Absolutely. It's all about staying true, isn't it, to yourself and what you believe in, even when the whole world or the professional expert is telling you, don't do it this way, And I do believe the show will be a huge hit one day. It's growing. It's growing.
Yeah.
And I do hope the family. Actually, I got a really nice message the other day on Facebook, say this parent go and listen to the show, and she was like, oh my god, this show is so good. I was like, oh, and then she actually invited me to go to her podcast. I said that's lovely too. It's really encouraging to hear, so yeah.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. Yeah, and I really hope that, yeah, it grows, and it helps people in the way that you hope it can help people. Um, oh, this is so nice. It's always such a pleasure catching up with you, and I'm just so grateful that you agreed to come on the show so that I could
Mm.
introduce you to my community, because I know that they are gonna love having or knowing that there's people out there like you that can support them through their family adventures. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's just great. Thank you. So usually at this point in the show, I have one set question that I ask all of my guests,
Yep.
where we kind of move into talking more about more behind the scenes,
Mm-hmm.
and how you ensure that you've got balance in your life if you're feeling like overwhelmed, or maybe your physical or mental health is a little bit out of
Mm-hmm.
balance. How do you create your kind space? And how
Mm-hmm.
do you kind of, yeah, what's your go-to thing when you're feeling like you're not quite yourself?
Mm-hmm. I think my go-to thing is always going to my husband. He is such a calming person. Like, instantly texting him, speaking about my challenges, just, or not feeling myself today because I miss my parents or whatever. He usually just calms me down straight away. However, he's not my only coping strategies. I think over the years I have learned, like a lot, you put a lot of expectation on yourself. You should, and because I work for myself, I should work on my business now so I can reach more families. I can do X, I need to do XYZ. Those expectations can really create a lot of conflictual feelings inside for anybody, because you feel like I need to do this in order to be able to do that. I can't rest, otherwise I'm lazy, or I have a million things to do. But over the years, I have learned to really listen to myself and listen to my body, my mind, my soul is telling me, like it's too much now. Go and play tennis. It's too much now. Go and spend time with your pet. Go for a walk. Go listening to music. Go pray. Go listening to hymns and go play the piano. So there are many things I use to create that space for myself, but it's not just I think it's more than about self-care for me, Caroline. I know people talk a lot about self-care. You to learn how to self-care yourself, and for me, self-care extending to care for your soul, your mind and your body, your emotions, your relationship,
Yeah,
because this is how you strengthen and yourself, and how you get picked up if you're unable to, because I
yeah,
could be in a really crushing space, and then I go to a holiday for 3 weeks. I could still feel very crushed coming back, because even the people around me are not my kind space, right? So I
yeah.
think there's a lot of things to think about.
And being
But
really
this
in
is how.
tune with that, yeah, being really in tune with what you need and how to create the right environment for that. Yes, that is, I love that you mentioned your husband. I have to agree with that. Like my husband absolutely is a huge support for me.
Mhm.
And yeah, I'm not sure I could go on this entrepreneurial journey and
Yeah.
do all these things without knowing that
Mhm.
he's there to support me. So that is so beautiful as well.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, thank you so
I
much.
feel like I have so much to say, Caroline. Even on self-care thing, I could talk about for another 50 minutes. It's terrible.
I know.
Oh, but thank you for having me on the show. I love talking about these things. It's amazing.
Yeah, we've shared so much advice. So the last thing I need to make sure that we don't forget is to give people some signposting as to how to get in touch with you. So
Yep.
uh, website, LinkedIn, where's the best
Yeah.
place to get you?
I think my website is always the best go-to place, because it has everything. It has my information, the contact details, my social media link, all these things, and it's got blogs you can read. So definitely
Yeah, and
it
I
would be
think
the best.
there's some videos on there as well, isn't there? Some,
Yeah,
yeah.
there's a lot of videos, and then also YouTube. I do produce quite a lot of YouTube videos as well. You can have a watch and stuff. But basically, everything, you go to my website, it takes you to all the places you can find me.
And it's
Parenting practice.
rainbow
It's
parenting
rainbow
practice.
parenting practice. People actually ask me, is it for LGBTQT because of the rainbow side of things? I
Um,
say no. I say
I
it's for everybody, but yeah, but I say it's for everybody. But the reason it's called rainbow is because it's my faith. Rainbow signifies something, the God's promise, but at the same time, it also signifies hope. And if you go to my website, you'll see all the colorful picture
Yeah,
is
your
to
photos
convey
are
hope.
beautiful. Yeah,
Mm-mm.
yeah, definitely. Because we've used that hope word when we were chatting, haven't we? So
Yeah.
yeah, thank you so much. We will
Thank you for having me, Caroline.
we'll pop all the links in at the bottom as well. And yeah, hopefully we'll get to catch up again soon. Maybe go for a walk and a talk again.
I'm sure we will. But do we have to walk though?
Yeah, we didn't quite manage that last time.
It
It
was
was
too stormy.
blowing a gale, so it was.
Yeah, it was. I play so much tennis these days. I'm like, walking is a drag for me. It's like, oh my
Oh,
god, I have to walk my dogs, but that's not true. I really enjoy walking my dogs.
yeah. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, and we will
Thank
catch
you for
up
having
soon.
me.
Thank you.
Bye.
There is not a day goes by that I don't feel grateful for my family and my kids. There is nothing that I wanted more growing up than to have a stable, normal life. So it's very comforting to know that there are people like Pei-I out there dedicating themselves to helping families through difficult times and allowing them to repair and rebuild those fragile relationships. If you're listening to this and you're in need of support, I know Pei-I would be delighted to hear from you. Thank you for listening all the way to the end. Before you go, I have a little favour to ask. So if you've liked this episode, screenshot it, tag us on social media at Create Your Kindspace, and maybe share what your key takeaway was from the episode. It would be so wonderful as well if you could rate and review the podcast, as this helps other people to find it. Thank you so much.